Welcome back to another episode of the Tiga Tactics podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Evan Perperis, joined by Conrad Bui. Dr. Conrad, say hi.
Hello.
Yeah, and Patrick Vuong.
What's up, guys? What's up?
We are back for another episode. This is going to be another slogan-focused episode. So we're going to take one of the Tiga Tactics slogans. We're going to talk about it, the development of it, deep dive into it, why we like it, because we obviously you guys made it, and I like it. So we're going to talk about that as well.
There's no bias there. No bias.
So today's episode, we're going to use the one of your newer slogans that kind of you came out with, I believe it was in the past year. It's called "Kind is a Choice." So you've got some T-shirts available on the Tiga Tactics website that have that slogan on there. So whoever wants to start, just tell me about like where did that come from, and then we'll start talking about like why we think that is a good slogan to live by / use for martial artists.
Yeah, let me just do a minor correction. It's actually kind by choice. Kind by choice.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I think actually the best person to explain it would be Conrad and Evan. So you two should actually explain how this came about.
Yeah, well, it came about when I was observing you, Evan, at one of our Tiga Tactics seminars, talking to this lady, and to me, she appeared to be. I don't like labeling people, but if there was a label for her during that conversation, the word pacifist came to mind, and nothing wrong with that. I get that lifestyle choice. I get that section of our population, they don't like anything to do with violence. I was even surprised that she was at the seminar, and it turned out that her brother got her to come to the seminar because he's a martial artist, and he kind of wanted her to see the lifestyle that he's living training martial arts, and showing her that we're just not a bunch of macho guys just bumping chests with each other. I think she even used the word toxic masculinity, some of these buzzwords floating around nowadays. And she was, I can't remember the exact discussion you were having with her, Evan, but it was something to the fact that this toxic masculinity, and how martial artists and maybe people who are into martial arts might exhibit those traits. And I just I jumped into the conversation for a little bit, and you were super nice, Evan. You were very respectful. You were very I would say diplomatic. And I jumped into the conversation for a little bit, and I thought, oh man, this is not going anywhere. So I jumped right back out, and I just thought, good luck, Evan. and at that time, we discussed it later on when we went to go eat about how martial artists we're actually some of the nicest people you could meet, which is surprising to a lot of people. I get it. If you lived a life where you never met anyone who was into martial arts, and some people equate martial arts and martial artists to just violence. Mm-hmm. They see these movies like John Wick or Enter the Dragon, and they just see people getting shot up or punched and beat up, and they think all martial artists are like that, and we just want to go out there and destroy other people and create violence for violence sake. And the fact of the matter is,
we do.
Darn it! Don't really say that, Patrick. You're letting out all the secrets. You're ruining it.
Sorry.
Well, but regardless, you see by the way we interact, we're some of the most down to earth people. We're some very educated people. We're some very accomplished people as well too, and we're very nice people. And Scott Sobel, the owner of the school, when we were hosting, he hosted us for this seminar. He said, "Yeah, when you have the capacity for violence, when you have skills to destroy something, and you choose to be kind, now that is meaningful. But if you don't have that capacity to defend yourself, to protect your family, to protect your life, your only recourse is to be kind. You're kind because you're forced to be kind. You're kind because that's your only recourse." Right. And so he said that the people with a capacity or the skill to be able to defend themselves in a physical confrontation, well, when we are kind, that means something. And I thought of that. I was like, how can I put this into kind of a sentence, a slogan that's as easy for people to remember? And so, please, Evan.
Yeah, no, I do remember that conversation. I remember being confused where it was going, and we were having a discussion talking about, like, is training people, giving people martial skills, whether it be the ability to punch someone or, that was a knife seminar, so it was the ability to, like, create distance and draw a blade and defend yourself. Like, are we doing more harm than good, right? Or am I teaching bad people how to hurt people? But as we've done when you guys have done through, like, looking at real world attacks, like, most of the attacks that the guy, it's not someone who was training at the gym the night before and then they're like, now I'm going to go out and attack someone. It's like those people aren't coming to martial arts gyms. They don't, right? The attacker on the street is untrained. He's doing it because it's an easy button. He's, if he had a good outlet, like going to a martial arts gym and training, he probably wouldn't be attacking a random person in the street. I mean, so we were kind of bouncing back and forth the conversation, and from my experience, again, my background's in special operations. Most of the guys I work with and have interacted with are all they're all super nice because there's nothing to prove. It's like, all right, we've all been through some sort of hard training, some sort of hard selection process, and we've all been on deployments and stuff like that. So there's no really reason not to be nice. And then on top of that, I've heard the phrase, yeah, you get more bees with honey than you do with something
vinegar,
something like that. I'm messing up the quote, but like, as special operations, specifically special forces, we do a lot of human interaction, and a lot of times, like, just building that rapport allows us to get closer to the mission, accomplish the mission without having to do violence. Like, violence that's my emergency break glass in case, right? Like, I prefer to do everything through a peaceful method. One, because it's cheaper, it's safer, it's more effective. Like, it's better on all fronts. And then it's just as a human being, right? It's just like a nicer way to go about things versus having to impose my will upon someone. So yeah, I love the kind by choice. I think, and like you were saying, if you have multiple options, you can, it's a choice to be nice to people. And the guys I work with, I'm sure I'm going to talk about them a lot of times in this podcast. I work at the combatives gym in Fort Riley, and the guys I work with are some of the, just, if you want to know how to hurt people, you can come to where I work. I mean, we have every color of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and then on top of that, everyone is either currently or used to train in some sort of striking art, and then on top of that, everyone currently or shoots guns personally for hobby. And then a lot of guys, I'm like the knife guy at work. So when people have knife questions, they usually come to me. But we just have, and then we have guys with brown belt in judo. There's just like an immense amount of martial skill in a very small group of about 7 people. And they are some of the nicest people I know. Super nice, super respectful. The only time they raise their voice is when someone starts breaking the standard that we have for training, or they start doing something that would cause an unsafe environment. So then they kind of step in. But if we're just teaching and we're just interacting, it's very social, very friendly. So, Patrick, what do you?
I want to jump in, and a couple of things popped up to mind. I used to teach women's self-defense quite often, and once was teaching this woman who said, like, oh, well, this stuff is kind of deadly, shouldn't you use she basically it came down to her saying, I would use compassionate communication. And I said, okay, so let's just say this guy breaks into your house, he wants to rape you and kill you. You're going to use compassionate communication? She's like, yes, I would use compassionate communication to let him know that what he is doing is wrong. And I said, oh, okay. And then I moved on, because clearly you're not going to get through to these types of people. And I was trying to tell the rest of the class, like, we're teaching these people, yes, they are very deadly techniques, very deadly concepts, but where you're not going to use it for evil reasons. You're using it to defend yourself against evil people. Just because we train, we have the ability to kill somebody, with weapons, with guns, with knives, with our bare hands, that doesn't mean that we are uh, uh, toxic toxic men. We're not contributing to evil in society, right? So I like, the whole idea of like toxic masculinity is just so stupid to me, because it has nothing to do with your gender. Toxicity is because that person is an a-hole. That is why they're toxic. It has nothing to do with because I'm a man and I do manly things. And I think what we're doing, teaching people how to empower themselves so that they can defend themselves and their loved ones, that should be applauded. It shouldn't be looked down upon as, oh, you're being a toxic man. This is not good. We want to give everybody options in every situation so that they have different types of tactics so that they can choose the right weapon at that time. And I don't necessarily mean weapon as in a gun or knife, but it could be verbal skills, soft skills, negotiation, just evading and running, right? We're going to give them that full spectrum, and then they will choose what to do in a specific scenario.
Yeah.
And that's a good point you bring up, Patrick, about you use the word weapon or skill. And what is it? The tactical communities all about weaponizing things. Weaponize your senses, weaponize your verbal skills, weaponize this and that. And the fact of the matter is, kindness is a tool. It's a tool to use at the appropriate time. That I don't think it's good to be kind all the time. There's a time and place for it. And as a civilian, majority of my life, there are a lot of times to be very kind. And then we need to recognize that's a tool to be used at the right time. And it's not just that the only tool that we're going to use. And like what you said, it's a full spectrum of tools that we have the choice to use there.
So it's funny you mentioned that weaponized comment, because when I was training for Special Forces, we were talking about using rapport building to help get our indigenous forces to do what we want them to do. And someone's like, they've done it. The Army's weaponized kindness. It's like, we've weaponized kindness. It's amazing. I thought that was really funny. And rapport building, I do use that phrase now. That was about 10 years ago. I heard that for the first time, but I use that phrase, like rapport building. Yeah, we've weaponized kindness.
Yes.
But also, like you were saying, it's one of the tool sets in your full lineup, right? So I was one of the, again, you're gonna hear me keep plugging this up. I'm working on a project for you guys /us /Tiga Tactics about self-defense, and I was talking about setting boundaries with people, right? There's a time to be kind, but then if someone's like approaching you, you can set a boundary and still, now it might be time to be stern. Like, I'm still being kind, but I'm being stern. Like, all right, don't come any closer. I don't want you coming any closer. And if you set a boundary with someone and they continue to break that boundary, you better get ready, because that person probably doesn't have the best intentions, right? Because a normal human, if I start especially as a male, if I start approaching a female and she's like, would you mind staying back a couple more feet? I'm gonna be like, yeah, like I'm just here. Like I'm just I just need a whatever,
Right.
Whatever the reason is, whatever reason I'm approaching her. If she asks me to stay back, I'm gonna respect those wishes. Versus a predator is gonna keep pushing that boundary. Oh, what? You're just saying this because I'm a male. You're just saying this because of insert ethnicity. You're just saying this because of insert the way I'm dressed. And they're gonna continue to push that boundary. And then as soon as you let them come a little closer, they're gonna push a little farther. They're gonna push a little farther until they're within range to do whatever they're trying to do to you at that specific moment. So
absolutely correct. And what you talked about was a distance boundary. There's also physical boundaries, like for example, our homes. Yeah. If someone's using a hammer, breaking it into my window, I'm probably gonna realize this isn't a time to be very kind in the response to that type of action. So yeah, there's a time and place for that kindness. And also I think it's job dependent as well too, whether you're law enforcement or military, depending on the task that you're assigned, you might have to put that kindness in your back pocket to do your job right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a flip side to that. As Conrad said, if someone's trying to break into your home, then obviously you don't need to be kind in that circumstance. The way that the flip side is, because we say that we're nerds, and we like to look at things from not just a physical point of view, but also mental, spiritual, psychological. And one of the ways I think about kind by choice is the flip side of it. If Obviously, if someone's attacking me, that's totally different, totally completely different. But there are many instances where, like, let's say I bump into somebody by accident, or someone's being rude to me at the store. I could easily escalate, and we could totally get into a fist fight. But when I say kind by choice, I'm going to actually be polite in the face of a-holeness.
Yeah.
And because the way I look at it is, okay, let's say I don't be kind. I'm the exact opposite. I let it escalate. I let my emotions get the best of me. I'm going to get an ego involved, and we have a fist fight. Well, I'm probably going to break this guy's nose, possibly send him to the hospital. It'll ruin his day. He might have to get surgery. And if he takes it a step further where he threatens my life, I might have to, unfortunately, take his life. And so by avoiding that whole situation completely, I'm actually being very kind, because I'm not causing him harm. I'm not causing him to have to do surgery and not to have to go to the hospital or go to the morgue. So in that sense, by avoiding him or de-escalating, I'm actually being very kind to him, because the alternative would be very bad for him and not so much for me. I mean, obviously, legally, it could be bad for me, but physically, I would be okay. The bad guy, not so much.
Especially in 2020s. I mean, I feel like in 2020s, the legal, like, you touch someone, it's going to be, right? Like, oh, great, you won the physical fight. And then, like we've talked about, there's the physical side, there's an emotional side, and then there's a financial / legal side. And a lot of those two will feed into each other, right? If you beat somebody up, because again, you're just being tough, you're being a tough guy, right? And then he comes and sues you, and now you got a financial drain, and now you're stressed out because you're dealing with this financial thing. And, it's just like, there's just no reason. There's literally no reason to fight outside of like a sanctioned fight, outside of a sanctioned thing, or like someone's literally threatening my life or my kids' lives, right? That the social aggression, like I'm fighting someone at a bar, is like completely ridiculous in 2020, in my opinion, right? If you want to fight someone, like, go train at a gym, and we can spar all day, man. It's people who know what they're doing, and that's a challenge. That's more of a challenge.
Yeah, it's just a no-win situation when you're fighting off ego, all the chest puffing and things like that. If you win, there's a lot of landmines you're gonna have to avoid, like what you talked about, the financial / legal battle. Then you have the mental battle as well too on top of that, and that's if you win. And if you lose, then that sucks as well too. So it's just a lose type of situation. And having the alertness, the mindfulness to avoid those things, big part of the skill set.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the guys who work at work with a combative gym with me, and you wouldn't know just by looking at them. There's no way to know how much skill they have, or if they're carrying, right. Like there's just no way to know. Have you read Tim Larkin's book, When Violence is the Answer? Have you guys read?
Yep.
So I love that book, and in the book he talks about social aggression versus asocial violence. So like social aggression, like we were talking about, is at a bar, you bump into someone, you argue, and you're like, oh, let's go outside and fight. So that's like a normal social aggression model. Like asocial violence would be like, all right, so you bump the guy into the bar, you go outside to fight, and you think you're gonna fight until one of you gets bloodied up or someone taps out, and the guy starts off with like a stab to the stomach, and you're like, wait, when are we doing knives, right? Like, he's operating under a different set of rules, because maybe that guy just got out of prison, or maybe he's just a violent criminal, or maybe he's psychologically imbalanced. So you never know what if someone's operating in social aggression or asocial violence mode, and there's no way to know until you start fighting. So again, besides all of the other problems and all the other reasons to be kind, there's one more, because you don't know what model that guy's operating in.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of the situation that you just mentioned, there was a video that was circulating all over the internet. It involved a famous MMA fighter, kickboxer, His name's Joe Stitch 'em Up Schilling, and the dude's badass. And well, what happened is they were at a bar, and someone bumped into Mr. Schilling, and he bumped into Mr. Schilling. Then he did like a fake chest pump fake, kind of like he's about to throw a punch.
Oh yeah, I remember this video.
And Joe just knocked him out. And of course, a lot of people online, oh yeah, you deserve that, yeah, ha ha, mess around with Joe like that, ha ha ha. Turns out there was a big lawsuit, probably a lot of wasted nights, a lot of wasted money on top of that, and it turned out that he was found, I believe, innocent, because it looked like the other person had aggression towards him and he just defended himself. But still, to get to that point, there was a lot of attorney fees happening. There was a lot of, I'm sure, sleepless nights happening as well too. So even if you do win that fight, you could end up in a bunch of other fights as well too. And we're talking about the legal, financial that you talked about, Evan, as well as the psychological too.
I can't remember what I was listening to something this week, and I heard a great story that I want to share. So one of the guys was talking about his friend who's a UFC fighter, and they would go out to bars all the time. And when people find out he's a UFC fighter, they're like, "Oh man, let's fight!" Like people were constantly trying to like egg him into fights. So this UFC, this is a great story. And like, if you're the type of person who like can't stay out of fights, I think this is a good option. So he would carry around a mouthpiece with him at all times. So when guys would be like, "Hey, let's fight," he'd be like, "Okay," and he'd open up his pocket, take out a mouthpiece, put it in, and start like warming up, and they'd be like, No, I've obviously picked the wrong person." Start fighting. It would just immediately de-escalate because they're like, "This guy's out of his mind," like who's carrying around a mouthpiece in a bar? Yeah, I thought that was a really funny and
he ought to have a growing cup in his back pocket. Put it in his jock strap and go, "Hey, wait a second."
Putting on like MMA gloves, I gotta keep my hand safe because I don't want to break it on your skull, right? Like, but it was just like a really interesting way to like de-escalate things. So sometimes you may have to be creative, like you bumped into someone at a bar, they spilled a drink. Buy the person a drink, right? Like that.
Right.
The $5-10. Well, I don't even know how much bar drinks are nowadays. I guess it depends on the big city. To tell you how often I go out, but you spend you buy that person a drink, and maybe that de-escalates things. And again, a lot cheaper than paying lawyer fees and medical fees, etc. So.
And let's segue into something different too. We talk about this in our seminars. Being kind isn't just to avoid fights. Being kind isn't just to not pummel somebody. Being kind isn't just for the other person. We talk about being kind because it's good for us. Actually, it makes us happier. It makes us live a better life too. So I want to just really quickly mention some of the research as far as how kindness can affect your life. And when you're kind, there's certain hormones released in your body when you do something good for someone. Let's say the traffic jam, somebody signaling in, you let them in. They wave at you, you wave back, whatever. Yeah, that releases hormones in your body, and those are feel-good hormones like serotonin. Serotonin is known as the happiness hormone, the feel-good hormone. Serotonin is also released when you're online a lot too, unfortunately, and that's what makes people addicted to Instagram and Facebook and things like that. Oxytocin is also released. Oxytocin helps to reduce blood pressure. It's the love you hormone. It's like, when you're in love, you're kind of floating and you just feel good all over the place. You're smiling for no reason, it lowers blood pressure. It's been shown to increase self-esteem as well as optimism. Also, people who volunteer, it turns out that people who volunteer a lot, they have more energy, and generally they live longer lives as well too. So it can improve your health by being kind as a practice, a daily practice.
Yeah. I love the scientific data there, backing things up. And on the psychological side, right? Like I've never gone through the day, been kind to someone, and then stayed awake at night being like, man, like a bit of, been like bothered by it, right? Like versus if you're mean to someone or you had an argument with someone, sometimes like I know you lay in bed at night and you're like, replaying the argument in your mind, right? Like,
Yeah.
and psychologically well-being, like you're gonna sleep better at night. So
why don't we talk about some action steps our listeners can take to practice out there, because it's always good to talk about mindfulness or alertness or situational awareness, and yet a lot of times we say this is so good, that's so good, and then we end the program. There's no actionable steps that people can take, our listeners can take to get benefits and to train this in life. So I just like to share with our audience a few things that I practice daily to practice those acts of kindness.
sounds good. Let's do it.
All right. So one of the things that I like to do, it comes from one of our other phrases, which is stay alert, stay humble, stay kind. And the first thing is stay alert. So just having that mindfulness, being aware of where you are, of what is going on in the situation around you, and also the situation inside of you, is the first step to practicing kindness. And so it's important to understand where you are, understand your surroundings. So if you're alert to your surroundings, you'll see, oh gosh, that lady needs a little help over here, or I can open the door for this person, or I can keep the door open for this person behind me. So just practicing that mindfulness is the first step to helping you practice that kindness in your daily life. And so what and I'm sure we do this. I talked about this before, holding the door open for someone. If you're in a traffic jam, letting that extra car go in front, oh my goodness, you took off 0.2 seconds of your life. Whoop-de-doo, it's the funniest thing. When I moved to California, people just do not let other people in. I think they make it a game of how tight they can get to the next bumper. And so they just keep edging forward, and you're signaling, trying to get in. Nobody's letting you in. I do try to change that driving over here. I try to let as many people in as possible. I also wave to people who let me in as well too. I hardly see that over here as well too. Like people thanking you for letting them in. And so just being mindful and being aware of what's going outside of you. I think also another foundational step is understanding what's going on inside of you as well too. So it's kind of hard to be kind when you're rushed, or when you're frustrated, or when you're angry as well too. So by having that mindfulness, understanding what's going on inside of us, you'll be able to stop those negative feelings. In other words, like, oh, you're walking out the door and you're rushed. Take a few deep breaths, realize, oh man, I'm rushed. I might make more mistakes. When we're not mindful, when we're not alert, that's when we make a lot more mistakes. Take a few deep breaths, understand that. Or if somebody's frustrating you, making you angry, I think a very important part of being able to conquer those negative emotions is recognizing them. And so, oh gosh, I've got this negative feeling inside of me. What is this thing? Oh gosh, I'm kind of angry. Why is that? Take a few deep breaths. Understand that I believe that I have control over my emotions for the most part. And if I can recognize a negative emotion, take a few deep breaths, and I can say, I choose a different emotion. I choose to be happier. And so just having that mindfulness, the first part of our slogan there, stay alert. So if you're alert, you understand what's going on inside of you, and you understand what's going on outside of you. And even the Buddhist master, Thich Nhat Hanh, he's a very famous Vietnamese Buddhist master. I quote him on this. He said, if you are not mindful, it can be dangerous. And so for him, it meant that it was dangerous for your mind. But we can also think of it dangerous physically too. You're more prone to make mistakes. You're more prone to lash out at somebody. You're more prone to being angry or mean. So if we're mindful, we can avoid that. And another thing I like to do is I like to volunteer. Again, some of the research that I talked about were on people who volunteered, and people who volunteered, they generally had longer lifespans than people who did not. And of course, when you volunteer, there's that socializing aspect. that usually happens when you volunteer. You interact with other people, which is also really important for health and brain health as well too. So I know we all do a bunch of volunteering. I volunteer at my gym. I go in there 3 times a week. I teach Muay Thai, I teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as part of what I consider my volunteer work, because I think martial arts is one of the best activities for everybody. And so that's how I go and I spread that kind of love there. So if you don't want to stand in the soup line, you could do whatever you want to do that is more aligned with your skill set there as well too. Reach out to people. Reach out to people. You right now have friends, have family that they want to hear from you. They need a nice word of encouragement. They need to know someone cares about them. If you reach out to them, and how can you reach out to people? My goodness, in this day and age, what is there? You can call them, you can text them, you can message them on Facebook, you can email them. Of course, how about the old school stuff and just going and visiting them too? Yeah, I mean, there's just so many ways to reach out to somebody in this modern day. Back in the day, it was like writing a letter if they lived out of state, or oh my gosh, long distance charges. I don't know if anyone remembers that. There was something called long distance charges back in the day. And reaching out to somebody, I think that's so powerful. And nowadays, with text or with messaging on Instagram or Facebook, you just reaching out. Hey, how are you doing, brother? What's been going on in your life? That's a very powerful thing. I've done that randomly, and people are like, oh gosh, I'm so happy you reached out to me. I've been going through some hard times. We get on a call, we talk about it. It makes me feel good. I reconnected with somebody. It makes them feel good that they got it off their chest. A lot of times they just wanted someone to talk to, and our loved ones, use this on them. They just want to hear, to have an ear that's non-criticizing, non-condemning, no judgment, no punishment. Just listen to them, actively listen, and just say, hey, what's going on? Tell me more. Tell me even more. I want to hear you. I care about you. And that's how you show that you care about that person as well too. So yeah, I think that practice in my life has helped me a lot. Just sitting there, being with the person, listening to them, not judging, not condemning, not criticizing, not giving advice, and just saying, what else? Tell me more. Tell me more, please. Tell me more. And so those kind of practices has helped me quite a bit. Another thing, here's a big one. Here's something I try to do, and I have to remind myself to practice this, is compliment people. People love hearing compliments. At a restaurant, I'll look at a waitress's nails. Those are some beautiful nails. Where'd you get those done? Instantly, their face lights up. Oh my goodness. They're so happy someone noticed. Tattoos are a big one nowadays too, especially at the gym. I'll come up to somebody. That's sweet. Where'd you get that? Oh yeah. We could go hit up a conversation, and oh man, yeah, the artist is amazing. That's a big compliment. People love to hear that. They have tattoos as well too. When I was in chiropractic practice, I was very successful, and one of the secrets to my success was I played a game. I tried to compliment every patient on every visit. Every patient, I try to compliment. Oh, Mr. Jones, that's a nice shirt. Where'd you get that shirt? Just something. Oh, your hair's beautiful. Did you just get it done? This, that. Did you lose weight? People love hearing those kind of things. And I had one patient, and she's coming in for a while. I complimented her that day. She just looked at me and she said, Dr. Bui, compliments will get you everywhere. And I thought, oh my goodness, back off on the compliments, back off on the compliments. My wife does not want to hear that one. But I think, and I can't remember who said this, but a quote goes like this: if you see something positive about someone and you don't give them a compliment, it's like having a gift that you wrapped up and you never gave to the person. And so if we see something positive in someone, let it out, give that gift away, and don't be shy about it. And I think once we do it, it becomes a habit. And that's just a very nice kindness gift that you can give to somebody as well too. And we're talking Tiga tactics. A lot of people think, oh, self-defense and destruction, combatives, things like that. We're civilians. Tiga tactics isn't just about combatives, about self-defense. As a civilian, I think it's important to share with ways to live a more successful life, a life that's more fluid, a life that is with much less obstacles and less problems. And so that's why we have all this I guess kindness training and kindness quotes as well too.
I love it. I think those are all great tips that you shared. I know a lot of times when people reach out to me and like check on me, I always feel bad because I'm like, oh, I don't do that enough to other people. Like I'm like I should reach out more. I've had some people kind of reach out and check on me, and I'm always like, oh man, everyone's so nice. I should be nicer like them. So I think those are great tips. I know for me, like we were saying on one of the previous podcasts, Tiga Tactics isn't a religious organization or podcast or a company. Evan, I'm a Christian, and one of the things that helps me remember to be kind is Orthodox Christianity has a lot of icons of saints and Jesus and the Virgin Mary, etc. And I have like most Greek, if you grew up in an ethnically Greek Orthodox family, they're like all over the house, and I've got one in my car, and I've got one at my desk at work. And for me, that's a visual reminder to be kind to people. So whatever visual reminder you have, whether it be something Buddhist or Islam or Jewish, whatever it may be, or even just like a picture of your family, right? Like, sometimes I see people commenting with stuff online, and I'm like, is your mother on Instagram or Facebook? Like, would you be okay with her seeing that? Or like maybe your kids? A lot of times when I interact online, I'm like, before I hit send or post, I'm like, would I be okay with my mom, my wife, and my kids reading this?
Right.
Would that be okay?
Right.
And if yes, then yeah, I can post. But if it's not, then it's like maybe you should rethink that, because especially with, again, 2020 is like the internet's it's undefeated. Things can be pulled up from all all
Right.
sorts of the past. I'd be careful.
100%.
That's
go
great.
ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a great point, because I was gonna segue into what I was gonna say, which is, with Tiga Tactics, we're about living a peaceful, harmonious life. We're martial artists who aren't bound by our martial arts. And what I mean by that is, like, when I would teach kung fu classes, I would tell people, like, people would ask me like, oh, have you ever been in a fight? And I say, yeah, all the time, every day. It's just that I don't use kicks and punches to respond. I will use kindness or politeness, or I'll yield, or I'll, as Conrad said, I'll slow down in traffic and let someone who's obviously going to cut me off anyway, just to have that space, And so I use my martial arts in more than just punching and kicking in physical ways. And so that now extends in today's world with the internet. And I watch people respond, and I've had to tell myself the same thing, like, kind by choice. I'm kind by choice. I'm kind by choice. I'm not going to say anything about this video that's bad. And if it's, let's say it's somebody we know who is posting a video about their training, and I see it got horrible form, or what they're promoting is totally irresponsible, I won't be baited into an online debate, or I won't like sling digital arrows at them, because it doesn't really make the world any better. If someone asks me a direct question, then I'll try to be as honest but diplomatic as possible. But I see tons of people like, oh, your style sucks, and your instructor, and that's horrible for me. Why would you do this? And it's so easy to be the armchair internet commando, looking at like a 3-second snippet of someone's training video. And so I have to remind myself, I'm kind by choice. I'm kind by choice. And today I choose to be kind, because that guy's form is horrible, but I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, and what you said, and also back to what Evan said about reaching out to people, and what you said, Patrick, about not engaging in those internet battles, or just dishing out criticism and things like that. When we do something kind, that creates a ripple effect. There was actually research done on this where it showed that people who did an act of kindness to a person, that person had a greater chance of going out there and doing an act of kindness to somebody else. And so, in other words, you're like that rock that gets thrown into a pond, and you're creating that ripple effect that spreads out. And so, in effect, we can all be that light in the darkness of this world. And the world right now is full of darkness. What do we have here? We have inflation running crazy. We have 2 wars going on right now. We're still recovering from the post effects of COVID. There's a lot of stress out there. There's a lot of anger and hatred. And I think we can be, every one of us can be that source of light in this dark time right now.
We can definitely spread kindness. Definitely.
Yep. All good stuff. I know, Conrad, you had a lot of notes that you'd written down in preparation for this. Any other things we need to touch on before we start wrapping it up?
There's a few other things, but
okay.
we'll just wrap it up right here. Yeah, I could probably go on for quite a while with this because this is something I take personally into my practice, my daily life as well too. I think it takes effort to be kind. It's easy to be negative. In other words, it's easy to roll downhill. It's easy. The only way to coast is when you're going downhill. If you want to even just pedal on an even street or a slight incline, you got to put some energy into it. And I don't think, for me anyways, it's a natural part of my personality to be kind. It's something I've been working on and something I constantly work on. And it's just, this is something I could talk about for quite a while because it's something that I try to practice daily myself.
Yeah, good stuff. Patrick, any kind of closing thoughts here?
I was just gonna throw in my heritage, not the ethnic one, but where I was born. I was, born and raised in Canada, and there's the stereotype that we're all polite, and it's a stereotype because it is for the most part true. Obviously, you'll run into some jerks in Canada. That's just the nature of humanity. But I would say on average, we're mostly polite people, and that kind of extends into the whole kindness world. And so I was taught to say, please, thank you, you're welcome, hold the door for people, help them if they ask, that sort of thing. And as Conrad said, that's just, you want to make it a mind body unity where it's not just something that you actually do, but that you think about it and it actually is a part of your being. And that will extend into your self-defense and your personal protection and your family's defense. It's just kind of like a guiding principle, so to speak, that will hopefully keep you safe, but also keep you healthier and happier.
Yeah. Well, again, all good stuff. Well, I'm loving all of it. Yeah, good way to live your life. Good way to, on the combative side, good way to avoid fights. Good way to make other people happy. I think it's an all around win. There's
right.
We can go down another rabbit hole of quotes that are, I think, are linked to this, that also are linked to the martial arts community. Like, better to be a gardener. Better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Right.
Right.
A polite society is an armed society. I don't know if you've heard that one as well.
Yep.
So stuff like that. I think we can start linking it to all sorts of other quote unquote famous martial related quotes. And it's just a good, again, just like we said, I think it's just a good way to live your life. All right.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna drop a bunch of links in the show notes down below for anyone who wants to take Tiga Tactics courses and get more of the Tiga Tactics mindset. Also, as of this recording, a couple weeks ago, we did the CLOT Symposium. You want to do a quick plug for that, and we'll drop the link down below, Conrad or Patrick?
Conrad, by all means.
Go ahead. Oh, okay. We just did an online webinar with several instructors in Kuntao and Kuntao CLOT, as well as CLOT. And Uncle Bill Willem de Tours, he's one of the pioneers of CLOT in the United States. He just turned 88, and it was part celebration as well as just getting everyone together, celebrating CLOT as well as his birthday, and also a fundraiser for him as well too. So we raised some good funds, and we shared a lot of good knowledge, and you can still get the recording. Is that correct, Patrick?
Yes, they can get lifetime access to the recording of the live webinar.
Excellent.
Yeah, so we'll drop that down below. And then I know we might do a separate episode for this. I know, Dr. Conrad, you've got a big trip coming up. Real quick, you want to plug that real quick, what you're doing personally?
Sure, yes. I'm going to be spending a little more than a week in Thailand, training under one of the head instructors over in Thailand, Master Toddy, and just training Muay Thai at his gym. I'm going to be living at the gym as well too, and trying to get my instructor's certificate under him as well too. So it'll be a whole week of that, and just hope I survive.
Nice. I feel like we're gonna have to do a deep dive on just that trip alone, because I'm super curious about the logistics and the experience and the getting over there and training in that type of environment. I'm just really curious. I think our listeners would be interested in it as well. So
cool.
All right, check the show notes below. Any other final things, Patrick?
No, just remember, everybody who's listening, obviously subscribe to the podcast. So follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, and also on YouTube, because we've got a lot of free content that we want to share.
Yeah. Well, I'll try to drop as many of those links in the notes below as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And also, please go online. You can subscribe to our email list. We send out emails usually twice a week, and they're very informative. I know Patrick does a lot of research into each of these emails. It just keeps us focused, and it keeps it on top of our consciousness that safety is an illusion. Sometimes we get into the rut of our life, and we go through life not realizing that there's a lot of violence out there. Patrick does a lot of research to remind us that these things happen to good people out there, and he also gives us ways to avoid and ways to survive these violent encounters. So sign up for our email list as well too, and you can start reading some of that.
Absolutely. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Again, make sure you subscribe, like all the stuff, share it around. Again, this is a new podcast, so we're trying to grow it. So please share it around. Let's get some more listeners. And it's, again, sends that positive demand signal that you want to keep hearing episodes, keep deep diving into these topics. All right. We will catch all of you in the next episode.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.
Remember, stay alert, stay humble, stay kind. Peace out.